uh, I've been working as a CPA professional for several years. My degree is in accounting profession. And at some point in my life, I just felt like I could not find any more motivation. The goals that I created for myself, such as become a certified public accountant and then progress up the corporate ladder, all of a sudden stopped bringing the sense of satisfaction, the sense of fulfillment, very short-lived sort of emotions that I experienced and fulfillment that I experienced, and not as deep as I wanted them to be, as I expected them to be, I have to say, before I achieved such goals. And so I started looking into the different areas and what it is that I could do in order to help myself find more motivation, live higher quality life. And I came across yoga. I've always been, a little bit physically inclined. I loved dancing. I loved being involved with the different types of sports. So I started there. I thought I will begin just addressing all my physical health and then go from there and see if I can connect from there. I tried various involvements, running, just weightlifting, and one of them was yoga. Yoga made me feel differently. Yoga made me feel like it addressed something more than just physical aspect of my life. I'm not saying that other involvement of sports don't, because everything is connected. It affects our mental states and emotional state. Anything we do that helps us physical helps us mentally as well. But yoga was at a different level that affected my mental and emotional state. Something about it that really drew me into learning more. And so I studied to become a certified yoga teacher, training with a 500 yoga hours, which is the most extensive yoga certificate that one can get. And from there, I decided to even go further for the master's degree of Maharishi International University. And I have not graduated from there yet, but I'm pursuing that. And so it's just for you to know a little bit of my background, so so my expertise and where the knowledge draws from. So I deem myself an expert in consciousness and human potential. That's exactly the degree that I was going after in master program of Maharishi International University. So I've learned a lot about the consciousness and how this affects our human potential and the ability to achieve our goals and live high quality life on a daily basis, having high quality relationships with the people. Going forward, I've learned that as I spoke with the different people, sharing my experience, that people oftentimes struggle with thoughts and overthinking, which directly affects what yoga addresses. Yoga's definition, unlike most of the people think, is complete settlement of the activity of the mind. And it has a lot to do with the physical poses we do, but however, it's not the only aspect of yoga, and that's what I try to educate people on. There's 8 limbs of yoga, and one of them is mental state. And
I think people are confused by all of that. I think it's great that you're kind of going into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that the main idea of yoga is connecting within and having the best relationships with first yourself. And from there, everything else just stems naturally. As soon as you understand yourself, know your thoughts, know what draws your attention, know what your passion is, know what people you want to have around, know exactly the goals you want to achieve, that's where it all begins to change in the profound transformational way. And so the foundation of this change is in thoughts, because thoughts drive emotions, emotions drive actions, and actions drive outcome. Even though we oftentimes, start at where, okay, so, but what do I want? Here's the steps. If we don't feel connected to the goal, then we are not motivated to achieve it for an extended period of time. And any worthy goal will have obstacles to it. So if we're not emotionally connected to that goal, we're going to drop because we don't feel emotionally connected. And so thoughts play an extensive role in that. Overthinking prevents us from clearly seeing the goal, from clearly seeing what we want from life, from clearly addressing anything that's put on us by the society and the other people want from us. We just on autopilot proceed addressing these things without thinking what's important for us, because it's a subconscious level. It just kind of plays on the autopilot for us, and we think it's right, but it doesn't feel good. So I think I want to share my screen here to tell you a little bit more about overthinking and the effects of the overthinking.
All right, you're ready. You're set to share.
That's perfect. Going to this one. You guys let me know if you can see my screen
Yes.
with the overthinking PowerPoint.
Yep, we certainly can.
Wonderful. So I'd like to begin with the overthinking. So what's overthinking? Overall general definition of it is a repetitive thinking or overanalysis of thoughts, decisions, problems to an extensive and hurtful degree. Now, my overthinking of the thought is easier. I mean, that was easy enough, the first one, but I'd say overthinking is any thought that makes you feel less than great. If you feel like less than great, just overall, if you feel like less than great, then draw your attention to your thinking, because thinking will produce emotions. So what is it that you're thinking about that makes you feel less than great? And you'll have an answer. You'll have an answer. What needs to happen next? You redirect your thoughts to one thought that just feels a little better. That's a very simple but extremely powerful trick that changed my life. So I want to share it here. And that's therefore this definition. Thought that makes you feel less than great. That's overthinking. And of course, we'll know that overthinking leads to things like anxiety, depression, insomnia. There's particularly to depression, there is a definition of even more extensive overthinking that's called rumination that leads to depression. That's already like a really, really deep levels of overthinking that then leads us to depression. It's still thoughts. Insomnia, low self-esteem, low confidence, that self-talk that we are involved with all stem from the thoughts. Low quality time with the family, friends, inability to achieve goals, to thrive, just like I mentioned a moment ago. But how about overthinking and the physical body? Lots of people don't know that thoughts are physical, actually. Even though we're not able to see them, they have literally physical effect on our body. And the research, there is a scientific research, meta-research supporting that. We'll get to that in just a moment. But in short, overthinking meets your body means it affects or messy, undirected negative thoughts will do this physically. Cardiovascular disbalance, autonomic disbalance, endocrine disbalance. The research I'm referring to is this meta-analysis by Ottaviani. It's in Psychological Bulletin. It's examined perseverative cognitive hypothesis. It's basically regarding the prolonged thinking about something. If you think about something for a long time, it's just not good. We got to move on, flow in experience, flow out of the experience. Overthinking, it's just thinking about something for a prolonged period of time. And so if one is engaged with the stressors through worry and rumination, that adversely affects cardiovascular, immune, and endocrine systems. And cardiovascular leads to heart attack. And we know that heart attack is a prevailing outcome in our Western society that stem from stress and anxiety. And so autonomic activity, elevated heart rate, blood pressure, reduced immune function, which by itself, reduced immune function will just expose to the people to multiple disease when the immune function is not functioning well. And of course, heightened anxiety, lower sleep quality. Endocrine activity, it's the stress, it's the hormones. Hypothalamic pituitary adrenal gland acts as disbalance. It's the ability to produce cortisol in our body, overproduction of the stress hormone. It's what the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal gland addresses. All of this, as part of this research, is a result of the overthinking. Can you believe that? I mean, to me, this is powerful. And even more powerful is that it's under our control. Thoughts are ours, so we are able to control them. This is the outcomes already happened, right? But what we can control is our thoughts. We can prevent from any of this to happen. This is the physical part of it. Now, if we look at even at the people's bodies, or the postures. As a yoga instructor, I pay attention to the bodies because bodies can tell a lot. Bodies can tell the story. And so if slumped or collapsed posture in somebody, that means they're probably not as confident, or maybe they're overwhelmed. It's the indication of overworked people too, but, into their mind a lot. Increased muscle tension. It's in the neck, shoulders, most of the time, the areas that really hold a lot of the tension. They hold a lot of the tension. Shallow, rapid breathing, dizziness, lightheadedness, fatigue. Those are all the symptoms of the panic attack, actually. We just had an interview with my friend recently who was so generous to share how the breath work that I shared on YouTube prevented her from actually experiencing the panic attack. She experienced the onset of the panic attack, but then after the practicing of the breath work for 30 minutes, it went away. So she was able to not only prevent, she used the breath work to not prevent from the panic attack from happening, but she used it to actually let it go away once the onset happened. Once the onset happens, I mean, she wasn't able to count for herself. She asked somebody to count for her. So it was at that stage, she was at the postpartum depression state after she had a miscarriage. So this is how important thinking and breath work is. And the reason breath work helps overthinking is because it, again, calms down our mind. Yoga is the complete settlement of the activity of the mind. All right. And here are some of the signs to address timely before it can get, too serious, to help prevent the more of a serious, outcomes or disease to come. If you feel increased heart rate in your daily scenarios, then just start slow breathing in and out. And you can count for yourself. You can count for 6 in, then hold for 5, exhale for 8, and hold for 5. And I'll make it easy for you to remember this, because when you exhale, we activate parasympathetic nervous system, which helps to eliminate the fight or flight syndrome that we experience that is activated by amygdala part of our brain. So we make it come down. When amygdala kicks in at full force, it shuts down the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for logical part of our brain. So we can't think. That's the reason we can't think when we're nervous. We're like, oh my, I can't remember anything. What am I supposed to do? I forgot the word. I don't know how to count. I don't know what to do, anything. What am I supposed to say? Our body shakes, the palms sweat, but our body is very intelligent. When you don't need to think, if the lion chases you and you all of a sudden had this extra abilities to jump over fences you weren't able to jump over when you weren't at this fight or flight state. That helps. But when we're sitting at home trying to come down, that's not helpful. And so that's just an indication of the overworked nervous system that isn't able to calm itself down. So we just need to give it a little bit of help through the breath work. When you notice these things, these leads there, like shallow, irregular breathing, tense muscles, digestive discomfort, fatigue, or low energy, headaches, the temperature changes, it goes up and down, those are all indications of just sitting down, or just kind of like indicators to let you know that it's time to unwind. Just sit down and incorporate this in your daily basis, like in the middle of anything, you're at work. And if you feel uncomfortable, any emotion that feels less than great, even before you think about your thoughts, have no thoughts first. Maybe it's very hard to do. It's not possible. Therefore, we redirect to the breathing, slow inhalations and even slower exhalations. Now, a note real quick, if you're helping.
If you're in the middle of a situation at work, like you said, it's really, these are helpful things because maybe it's an employment review. Maybe it's a coworker that's, unloading things on you that you're not supposed to do. All of those things can really, this is very helpful, I think, especially if you're in that setting.
Yeah, especially, and I can speak to that very personally also because I am still currently in the corporate world. And so I experience all the stress that is, associated with our daily activities and sometimes the corporate drama and just the fast-paced environment that comes with it, So
drama and intrigue.
And then intrigue, drama, intrigue, unfairness. Somebody is just, the out of nowhere emails, drive-bys of people who are just not connected with themselves, maybe than we all would like to be. Then they exude this energy to others, and that's again something we can't affect. So, but what we can do is to have the very strong nervous system and the threshold for stress established in our body to be able to not react, but be able to reply to this. And it starts with taking a breath, slower, deeper breath before we respond to anything that happens. Something negative happens, we're like, oh my God. That's the time to breathe in and breathe out, and then maybe respond. All right. So this is what's happening at the time of the meditation. We talked about the breath work. Now, there is multiple research at this point that shows how meditation can have effects on our nervous system, on our body, on our mind, on our brain restructuring, neuroplasticity. It affects it all. And so default mode network, DMN, is one of the things, it's the group brain regions active during mind wandering and self-referential thinking that are often linked to overthinking. This is the part of the brain that meditation affects. It decreases the activity in default mode network regions of brain that helps reduce overthinking and rumination. And here's just the study, the Nature Reviews Neuroscience in 2015. But I'll tell you that there is way more studies on this than that. It's just one reference. Enhanced emotional regulation, meditation strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the brain's control center for managing emotions and decision making, while reducing activity in the amygdala, that emotional part of the brain that gets out of control during the fight or flight syndrome and during the panic attack, it takes control and shuts down the cortex completely. We can't think anymore. And again, there's multiple research showing that, multiple research of different meditations too, because different meditations can have different effects on the different parts of your brain also.
That's interesting. I would like to know which ones and what the impacts are.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be very cool.
I have a whole, and I'll come back to that in just a moment, but I have a whole document delineating specific benefits of every meditation, different meditations, and the amount of time that it requires to meditate, and the different benefits associated with the longevity of the meditation, included with my Friday morning class. If you guys are ever interested, please sign up for the Friday morning class, and I'll show you how and then you'll receive a welcome email with this printout showing you all the different forms of meditation and the different brain waves that it affects in our body. And so you can decide for yourself which meditation you'd like to try. The end game, though, is whatever meditation makes you feel better and you feel better doing, that's the one you want to stick with. Sometimes technical knowledge is not the most determinant for us in terms of what's best for us. We might think logically certain things, but if that doesn't feel good, I do not recommend you proceed with that meditation. So, we didn't talk about that it improves cognitive controls. Meditation increases gray matter density, and gray matter density is very important. It's the one that's responsible for Alzheimer's syndrome. So the gray matter density in the brain area associated with self-control, like the anterior cingulate cortex. And the research from Harvard University shows that even 8 weeks of mindfulness, there's a whole bunch of research on the mindfulness meditation, improves focus, awareness, and the ability to redirect attention from repetitive and intrusive thoughts. And you see here, it's the redirecting of the attention. Really, it's what it's all about. Mindfulness is about redirecting your attention inside to know yourself better. Know thyself. So, it also helps reducing cortisol levels, like we talked about, stress hormones. And that's, as we saw in the research of the overthinking, cortisol is uncontrollable when we start overthinking. So this is, and meditation is the counter effect to that. And we have this psychoneuroendocrinology research in 2013 specifically addressing that, showing us how that happens. So it promotes neuroplasticity, and neuroplasticity is the ability of our brain to relearn the connections of the neurons. And meditation is the most effective way in redirecting or rebuilding neural connections in your brain. So, what is happening in the time of overthinking? Are parts of the brain responsible for the negative, negative sort of thinking or worry, anxiety problems, they get activated more and more. And the more they get activated, they fired up again if anything happens. And in order to take away from that area of the brain, we need to redirect the thought to a better feeling thought, or to come to meditation or breath work to show it, to not feed that negative feedback, that negative connectivity constantly, because it strengthens over time. The more you think a certain way, it's like a habit in the brain. The more on autopilot you come back to that. So if on a daily basis you come to your car and think, oh, I hate this traffic that it's going to come, this is going to activate your negative part of the brain that's responsible for strengthening in that area. Now, if you come to the car and say, take a deep breath and say, I love this day, this is going to be a wonderful day, and find a moment of gratitude, it takes less than 1 minute or even 30 seconds to find anything that you're grateful for. Another, just a simple and profound way to relearn neural connections in the brain. Then you do it for several days, your brain starts to relearn. And there's this scientific research, again, it's neuroscience research in 2020, and emphasizes that consistent meditation practice strengthens brain regions involved in concentration and cognitive flexibility. Yes, this is something you don't have to think about. That's why I love meditations. Like, you don't have to think, what do I need to redirect my thought to? It's so much easier to not think about it. It automatically happens on an automatic basis when you just start redirecting your attention to your breathing. Or what I love doing is redirecting my attention to mantra. And there's a whole other story to mantras. Mantras can be used from the Sanskrit language, which words were built on the vibrational energy of the words. But it can be as easy as joy. Whatever word you need of the mantra today, and what you need, you can say love, 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 and just repeat it without any particular rhythm. That's the meditation. So that's redirecting. That's your mind is getting rid of distractions. Imagine a desktop. Your desktop and the work, a lot of work that needs to be done. And the thoughts are overwhelmed. The book is here, the notebook is here, the sticky note is right there. And you just look at it in your mind, it goes, oh my God, what do I start with? And then imagine the table that has none of it. You know the priority. It doesn't matter if I go and drop off the mail right now in the mailbox, and my friend will get a gift a week later and not right now, or whatever, I'm sending that to the friend. But if I established a goal that is very important to me and matters to me, and that I'm emotionally connected to, that I want to develop my yoga businesses, and for this, I need to hold a class this morning, I know I need to prepare for the class. I'm not running to the mail office. I'm not avoiding important things. I just know this needs to happen. And I have only this one task on my desk. My mind is peaceful. I know important part is addressed. And I know that I'm taking care of it. Everything else is gone for now. It's one step at a time. And that's how meditation works. When you redirect your mind to this one attention, to this one word, eventually you transcend even the mantra. And by that, I mean, there is no thought. There is no thought at all. That's a state that is phenomenal. And that's the state that creates bliss and happiness. However, it's short-lived oftentimes for especially new meditators, or even experienced meditators. This is what all the yogis, experts, are getting towards, is the ability to have no thoughts for extended period of time. And the reason being is that's the state they call bliss. It's when we talk to people who achieved the state of that for extended period of time, they say, if I ever use the words for that state, it wouldn't be enough because it would be underestimate. Such feeling is not easy to explain. And that's consistent across multiple people. It's not just one person all of a sudden said that. So, but I experience in my meditation no thoughts moments. I experience and upon completion of my meditation, I often feel released. I often feel like what used to bother me right before the meditation is not as important all of a sudden anymore, and that things are going to be okay. But I don't think to myself logically, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm not going to do, and this is blah, 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 none of it. I just go to mantra, and then it's gone automatically. So
what is mantra?
It's a very good question. Mantra is, we can say it's your vehicle to take you to the state of the no thoughts, no activity in your brain. Mantra has the vibrational energy in the Sanskrit language. Every mantra associated or every mantra in the Sanskrit language has its own meaning and energetical frequency to it. So it helps you come to that state of the energy that the mantra brings. And the vibration or energy is achieved through the sound of the mantra. And our hearing is the most subtle of all senses. and we repeat it to ourselves, we activate the subtler part of the senses hearing when we speak that mantra to ourselves inside. And by that, we're activating this very subtle calming down of the mind, you know. So when you start saying that mantra, you know, sound is frequency. When we speak, we create frequency through the combination of the different sounds. So these mantras frequencies are designed to take you to a certain state. So that's what mantra is. And we use it as a vehicle because you can't just get rid of thoughts. I always smile when people say, all right, close the eyes and stop thinking. I'm like, great. I'd love that. But how does that happen? Well, it doesn't happen. So you can only, as they say with the habits, you know, you can't just get rid of the habits. You can only replace this habit with another habit. That's how it goes. Or the thought, the same goes for the thought. You can't get rid of thought. You can just redirect to another thought. And this is powerful. So
Excellent.
yeah, I wanted to then show you and come back to what I was talking about. Are you guys able to see my website right now? Is this PricewaterhouseCoopers or no?
No, it's still the neuroplasticity
Got it.
slide.
I shared the window, and let me share that again. It's a different one I'm going to share in just a moment, and I'll just show you. Yeah, this one.
There you go.
Okay, wonderful. So if you would like to learn more about what meditation has what benefits, as the science shows us, scientific research shows us, then you can go to instinctwithin.com and you will see this white panther here. This is my logo. That's how you'll know that this is me. I'm on YouTube at instinct within. Name is my YouTube name, and you'll see this panther. That's how you know that's me. But so if you scroll, if you sign up here, register for free live class, that's what I was talking about in terms of, and I can click here to show you how it looks like. Do you see the page that prompts to sign up, the black
Yep.
page? Okay.
Yep.
And so here, this class incorporates 4 proven steps to address overthinking and just simply motivate you, because that's what I was searching through yoga too. And so we will first have a brief moment of talking about the wisdoms of Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, or the thousands of years wisdom. And then we'll back it up with the scientific research. We'll talk about it for about 10 minutes. Then we'll come to the breath work to experience, to address and practice the point that we talked about in the beginning of the class. We'll then take that same point to physical practice and experience that same point or theme in our physical body. And then we'll end strong with the meditation. And through these classes, I address various topics. I always talk about the thoughts and how our thoughts affect everything that we do in life, including overthinking. And then I will have various meditations for you to try during each class. So if you want to sign up for multiple classes, you don't have to just do one. It's a free class, but you can sign up for multiple classes and topics. If you sign up here, then I will send you the themes of the classes on the weekly basis, and that way you will know which ones you might be more interested to, listen to or participate in. And so with that class in the welcome email, one of the printouts you will receive attachments is the frequently asked questions about meditations in the overall practice. And it'll also include the different types of meditations and the benefits that they're shown to have. Every meditation has their own benefits, and every meditation, if it's the same meditation, is experienced differently on a daily basis by the same person. So it's not like you're going to meditate and experience the same things every time. That's the beauty of it. There's no expectations. You just sit down and experience life. And this is fabulous. So that's that. And the next thing I just wanted to point out too is, especially especially for your daughter, Cheryl, here's the guide. Here's the guide that addresses the 3 top emotions, as we know, that are caused by overthinking. And these top emotions are described in the guide and associated with the action steps, what you can do for each emotion and what type of yoga pose will best address that emotion. It doesn't have to be hard, it can be just one pose, holding it for extended period of time, longer pose, a restorative pose, and a certain meditation that I also have included in the guide. So you can click on the link and just listen to that meditation and help you address that emotion. So you can get that guide in here at the very bottom of this website.
Yeah, it's interesting how yoga works into the meditation, but also the flexibility, the impact of being flexible in your body it has so many far-reaching advantages. Because if you're not, like, if you get old and the old stiff person, like you can't bend, you can't, all of that. That's really something too, because you have to wonder how that translates to your mind.
Oh, there is a research out there how it translates into your mind. And the way it translates into your mind is your mind is actually also not flexible. Your mind, if the body isn't flexible, the mind isn't adaptive. So we struggle to experience change if our body is not flexible. We experience longer recovery times after stress, if anything happens. And we're just not willing to look at the options available and make choices besides anything that we're used to, even if whatever we're used to is not the best life scenario for us.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
how it
it's
affects
being
our,
frozen.
yeah, besides self-confidence, of course, and just feeling wonderful when you're flexible, when your body just feels pliable and flowy, and it just feels fantastic.
So one of the first elements of self-care is this.
Yeah. The first element of the self-care is to feel good. That's my number one advice in everything, because our emotions is such a profound indicator of where we're at in life. If we constantly don't feel good on a daily basis, that's indicative of something is wrong. Taoism, Buddhism, they all say we're just basically good. By basically mean our foundation is to be happy, is to experience happy thoughts, is to experience happy life. And if we're not, then there are steps that we can take to redirect to a better quality life. And emotional system that we have is just like our intelligent body. It adjusts, and based on the situation and what needs to happen. It's the same way. It's just it's there for us to know if there's anything that needs to be changed, how am I doing? It's basically the answers the question. So how am I doing? If I'm not feeling emotionally well, is the time to look at what can be changed.
Right. And well, if you were to say for someone who's never engaged in a yoga practice or maybe even in an exercise practice, um, how would they go about jumping in and getting involved with yoga and meditation? Like how long, how we're all professionals on this call.
Yeah,
And so we want to know, at least in my world, back in the financial world, it was I need to know how long, how much, how fast, all of those things
yeah.
before I engage in anything, right?
Yeah,
So kind of what what would your guidelines be for someone who wants to jump into a yoga practice and get started?
absolutely. I'd say consistency always is the key, because and mornings is the fabulous time to do it, because when you wake up in the morning and you set your foot right, um, before everything else begins, then your day is different. That's to begin with.
You're a winner all day.
Yeah, you're a winner all day. When you're a morning, win the day. That's what Tim Ferriss says. And on my website, I actually have that quote. I
Mhm.
said, I changed it. I said, win the morning, win your life, or something like that. Because honestly, if you just figure out your morning, and I have to add to that, evening is important too. You want to rejuvenate for your morning to be happier. So, you know, so I highly recommend starting in the morning, maybe waking up and allotting this time. And I know it's hard. I know I'm a corporate worker myself, and I'm in a busy profession too. But I still wake up in the morning and make time for my meditation, make time for my morning stretch. I'd say start with what makes you feel emotionally connected, those yummy stretches. There's restorative yoga. Try my class and see how that goes for you, because we're often involved with the meditative flow as part of the physical practice that is designed to make you feel good. And so it doesn't have to be the whole hour. And we often overwhelm ourselves to say, oh, that's a 1 hour practice or whatever. Don't put the time against it, I guess. Just go with it and see what makes you feel good. 10 minutes of practice in the morning on a daily basis will make unbelievable difference for you in just a month or two. You will know it's probably going to make a difference on that same day, because you're going to feel better just by doing that. But in 1 or 2 months, you will experience a profound difference in the way you feel and in the way your body moves, because our body is a reflection of how we feel inside.
You
So,
know, I didn't mean to step on you. What's really funny about this is that's always what I say to people. It's always starting in the morning. You get up, you either exercise, meditate, whatever. Um, and I was listening to Brian Tracy a couple of weeks ago. He did a webinar and he was talking about his morning routine. And what's really funny is he says, everyone should wake up before 6 a.m. He said, what I do is I go right down to my pool and I jump in it. And he
I love
said,
that.
if you if you think that you're going to go back to sleep after you jump in that pool, it's not going to happen. So he must have a cold water pool, because
Yeah,
otherwise, it was just really funny. And it's whatever works for you, right? As long as you know that you have that routine. And if you could do those 20 minutes of yoga, or maybe it's an hour. Like my husband always teases me because I've been really bad about working out lately, but years ago I'd work out for an hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning. And I was of the mindset, if I didn't do at least that much, it wasn't worth doing. So
I,
he's like,
I was
oh,
in the same.
well, but he's like, that's just not realistic for people. I'm
It's
like, okay, right. So it depends on who's doing it.
Exactly. And that's why it's extremely important to listen to your body. And yoga is really there to meet you where you are. That's the beauty of yoga. A lot of people think, oh, sometimes when I say come to my yoga class, they say, oh, I'm not flexible enough. And to which I laugh, because I say, well, that's exactly why I need to come to my yoga
That's
class.
why you need to be
And
there.
so, right, we're not there to compete who is more flexible. We're there to meet you where you are. And, in the morning classes, nobody's going to be able to see what you're doing, especially that applies to men. Also, this is part of my research showing that males, for whatever reason, feel are even more conscious about how they're not flexible in the group yoga classes, and they have a tendency to skip that for that reason. And so, it's at the privacy of your home, and you can do whatever feels good and not do whatever doesn't feel good, and not worry about what other people think. It's in the YouTube setting. It's a private link you will receive. So it's not publicly live on YouTube, but it's a private link that you will receive if you sign up for the class, and you will stay in the privacy of your home, at the privacy of your own, kind of discretion. So what I didn't mention though is the journaling process that I always incorporate as part of our class. And there's a printout that I send during the welcome email too. But I've designed a journal, and it's called Their Boundless Dreams. It's sold on Amazon. If you search up the Their Boundless Dream-Guided Journaling, yay! And one.
I got one. I love it. It's well written, well done.
Thank you. That is music to my ears. It has 4 sections in it, and one of the sections is designed to just walk you through the daily prompts. And it has 4 questions to answer that are strategic questions that to actually make you feel better, because that's the most important thing in life to begin with. Then it has a free writing section. If you don't want to answer my questions, or if you just think about anything else, or just want to jot anything you want to write down, then it's right there. Then for the motivational part, you also have an image of some nature, or just beautiful imagery throughout the journal that will keep you smiling. And so not only that, but you'll also have a motivational statement here on top of the free writing section. Let's say this one says, your present circumstances don't determine where you can go. They merely determine where you start. And this is wonderful, because oftentimes we look at the past experiences and we say, oh, I'm not able to do that. This experience shows me that I just can't. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where we were. I had to learn it myself, by the way. That's why I'm speaking from my heart right now. So,
We all need to learn this.
oh boy, I had to realize that it doesn't matter anymore. That's where I want to be. That's what matters. And where I am right now is just my starting point and nothing more. So it doesn't define us. Yeah, our past experiences, they don't. They're just past experience to be there to teach us. So, and the next section you'll find here is one of the questions I have in the daily prompts says, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you dare to dream? And it's a little tricky question. Sometimes takes a thought to figure it out. So I created a whole section about it that walks you through very motivational steps and answer 11 questions to understand your deepest passions, and to know what it is that ticks you, what it is that drives you, that really makes you going on a daily basis. And it has a link there to the meditation that really gets you connected with your goal. It leads you to define your goal after you connect with yourself and know that this is what you want. It leads you to define in specific words to state that. And so that will help you answer that question number 3 with the open, warm heart, if that's what you want. If not, you can skip that. So, and the next section there is about how you can help yourself to incorporate journaling or morning routine on the daily basis and make it a habit. It's called Transforming Habits, and it leads you through the proven techniques of how to incorporate something new, because again, research shows us people drop their desired habits very often after they think that they want to change that. Habits are a strong thing. It takes consistency to redirect again. And
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of research on it some people say, oh, it's 21 days, some say 28 days, some say
yeah,
35 days.
40
It's
days. Yeah,
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 it's all over. Uh,
yeah. Yeah, I think it's more about just emotional connection to what you want, and then everything else becomes easy. When you emotionally feel connected to your goal and to your new habit, you know why you're doing that, makes it just so much easier to stick to it. So an example would be, I want to live a long life. That's a goal. Okay. An emotionally connected goal would be I want to live a long life because I want to I want to spend time with my grandchildren and serve as a great teacher for them. That's more of an emotionally connected, and and you're more specific, look, I really want to see my grandchildren succeed. I want to see what they do in life. I want to stay here for longer. So that's just an example, but that makes a huge difference.
yeah, all great stuff. Thank you for sharing all of this today, Anastasia.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a great, great pleasure.